Rik, let's start with your own journey into aged care, like why you started physiotherapy to begin with.
Uh, I have always had an interest in health and movement. My father was a professional cyclist, so as a child, I spent my youth going around to different velodromes in Australia, supporting him when he was racing because he had me quite young, and I ended up spending a lot of time with physios out in the middle of the velodrome, doing massages and observing people from an exercise point of view. But I also had some family members that had some disabilities. I had some cousins, and I saw the impact that physio had on people living with cerebral palsy. And it just made me think I've always wanted to help people, and I wanted to spend some time with people. And I saw physios having the opportunity to spend time with their patients and helping them improve their quality of lives. So that's what got me into physio. Working in aged care, I sort of fell into aged care like a lot of us do in my 20s. I ended up through a private practice. They would contract physiotherapy services. So I went out so it wasn't a choice of mine to go into a nursing home. But once I got into a nursing home, I couldn't believe how valuable a physiotherapist was to help an older person's life. So we would do a physical assessment, understand that these people are super complex with a long history of arthritis and joint deformities, potentially lung and heart problems and neurological problems. They were all having complex pain histories, challenge maintaining their ability to walk and transfer. But physio has so much to offer these older people. And what I loved is that you spend a long time with them. And you spend years with them supporting their journey. And that's what I particularly liked, was almost being like a physical health coach for these people, being a source of professional advice. Because, being able to move from A to B comfortably, safely is really important for all of us. And it's really important to maintain somebody's independence when they're in a nursing home. And then once the community packages sort of emerged 10 years ago, I saw the value of physio helping people age well at home, maintaining their strength and balance, managing their pain outside of medication. Often I see people living in the community, they go to their GP and they get a medication because that's all that's funded. And then we start seeing home care opportunities for people to get access to physio and get real meaningful rehabilitation in the home. All great experiences.
Well, I'm going to actually track back a little bit because we met you when you were running your business, age-well physiotherapy. How did you start the age-well physiotherapy? And I know that working with you very closely at that time, that you grew the community health setting more than any other businesses that we were working with at that point. And you had a really great retention period of clinicians working with you, and they loved working with you. And the changes that you were making in the community. So how did that all happen?
That all happened because early on in my physiotherapy career, I started doing some advocacy for our profession, particularly around aged care and community. So I was sort of talking to the Department of Health and Aging when they were exploring community care. So I said, look, if you need somebody to workshop ideas, workshop models of care, I was the right person at the right time to get some of those, test those models of care in partnership with aged care organisations. So I saw it. I had that opportunity to test some models of care. I saw its potential and its value. And so as soon as the government started funding it, I was really ready and keen to service as many people, support as many people as possible through physio and occupational therapy. So I was just the right person at the right time with the right motivation. And a lot of people found the getting staff to go and visit in people's home. Physio had always done home visits, but it wasn't a big part of our practice. In private practice, often we get people to come to us because it's more cost effective, and there are benefits because of the equipment. But when you're looking after older people in their own homes, it's very much an exercise and education approach, which can be done anywhere. And the value of supporting and teaching someone how to do an exercise program in their own lounge room, in their own kitchen area, means that they actually do their homework. get them into your practice in a normal treatment room that's very clinical. It's hard to translate what they did in the treatment room to their house. And then you follow them up in their lounge room 2 weeks later and go, show me what you're doing. How have you progressed? Where are your challenges? And we can problem solve the challenges in their environment. We give them resources that are in their environment, exercise, weights, handouts. Now we use telehealth and technology to support them, but it's in their own environment. So you create a gym in their lounge room and they stick to the programs more. So as a clinician, I found that much more enjoyable, and I was able to find other physios who could see the benefits of creating those programs in their own homes. And not to say there isn't a place for a clinic, not to say there isn't a place for a gym, because the more variety you have of different exercise, the better for you. But we just hadn't thought about rehabilitation in the home until 10, 15 years ago.
We know that in 2008 you won an award for dance therapy. Do you want to talk about that? Because I know that you yourself is in opera singing. So just want to tap into that for a bit.
So there's a musical at Sydney Theatre Company that's just been down in Melbourne. It's running now. It's called Bloom, and it's about an older person moving into residential aged care and the challenges that has. But clearly in that musical, music plays such a big role. And that was the same for me because I play the piano and I sing and I've been known to move. We know that people connect, especially people that might have some history of cognitive impairment. Music is a connection, dance is a connection. So I was always a big fan of doing exercise classes to music, getting people up and moving, not just doing traditional exercise, but dance. So early on the piece, I employed a few dance therapists that teach me and my team how to be courageous at developing exercise classes that have a dance component. And so I did that, and obviously it was very successful and it was a big part of our practice until we sold it in 2020. And I'm exploring this now more officially in my research, looking at dance therapy at Sydney Uni. So I've almost come full circle. I'm trying to get some money now to actually test how dance therapy actually creates better adherence or adds to exercise adherence. So that's what I want to explore more formally. But yeah, I love music and I love dance. So
I think people will respond to it better because it's not just a traditional going to the gym and run on the treadmill for 30 minutes, right? It's something different, something enjoyable. Music increases your dopamine level, so you automatically respond to it better.
Exactly. And I've seen people with severe cognitive impairment, severe dementia get up and dance, and they mightn't have walked for a while. And it's not for everybody, but you do see a much better engagement with music. But not everybody loves it.
Right.
And when you look at the World Health Organization's physical activity guidelines that are saying we need to do 150 to 300 minutes of exercise a week, that includes strength, that includes balance, that includes getting your heart rate up and running. That's a lot of exercise, and we've got to mix it up. Otherwise, it can get boring. If anything gets boring, you don't do it.
Correct.
And dance is not boring.
No, it's not. It's never boring to have music and dance. Rik, I'm going to tap into another section here, which is support at home is coming.
Yes.
It's a big hoo-ha going on in the industry. There's a lot of uncertainty, but I know there's a lot of great things too that are going to happen. Now, you touched on about restorative care. How do you see that's going to give benefits to people those are deciding to aging at home?
Well, it's the first time we've actually had in aged care a focus on rehabilitation. Now, we're using the word restorative because rehabilitation tends to be focused around hospitals, but it's the same principles, it's the same continuum where you're looking at a person's level of function and you're going to help them improve. So we're either restoring function or rehabilitating their function. And so the government is going to give a certain amount of packages, 20,000. I'm just trying to think of the numbers. I think it's 20,000 in 25/6, the first year, which sounds like a lot, but I think everybody over the age of 65 could benefit from an allied health physio-led restorative care program that they have an individual assessment, looks at their strengths and weaknesses, looks at what they actually want to achieve and what they want to do, and help them build a program that builds their strength and balance and restores their function. So I think it's something we've been asking ever since they started home care officially in 2015. We've had this home care packages for 10 years, and you can have a physio paid for in your package, but now it's going to not have any means tested fees to it. And there's going to be certain packages, they'll be time limited, 12 weeks, but you can do a lot in 12 weeks to improve somebody's function. And it's just going to give a focus to and an emphasis that older people can have really rich lives living at home, but it does need a bit of focus to get them at a level that they want to be at. So I think it's really exciting. I wish we have those sort of programs in residential aged care as well, because they have capacity to improve and restore their function and have better quality of lives. And it needs specific funding and specific focus, not just in the wash of care. It needs to be prioritised.
Because I know that I've seen within my mom, like she has significant knee issues and her whole family has significant knee issues, and they all went through the replacement path, but then ended up back into strength and conditioning side. So to some degree, even if you replace it, it doesn't actually fix.
Look, knee replacements is complex. If you could get early access to physiotherapy, we would avoid 90% of knee replacements. And we have to acknowledge that there's a genetic component to arthritis, but your joints, they love a bit of shock. That's how they get nutrition. And so exercise, we're putting a bit of load on their knee. We're maximising the fluid around the knee and maximising the knee's function. It would be really great earlier that we can get access to these people that start to develop arthritis and teach them how to slow down the progression of the disease, build the muscles around it so that they can have a knee that does more with the level of arthritis they've got. And yeah, I just think that's why the restorative care packages, if someone's got knee pain or someone's got back pain or shoulder pain, they can be offered a program. And the thing is, it's about teaching somebody what to do forever. It's about managing your body. You get to a certain age, you're going to have some problems. Fact.
Yeah.
Knee arthritis, it could be back. It could be you got some respiratory conditions that will need some advice around how you exercise when you've got a lung and heart problem. There's lots of different factors. But yeah, I would love to have more funded exercise for people from the age of 65 plus. You know, there's even research now we've got to get thinking about strength and balance in our 40s.
Because one of the key things that we are noticing now that we're a home care provider and we're meeting a lot of the clients, one of the key things that we find is that awareness level. A lot of individuals just weren't aware that what actually includes, what are the benefits that can get from, like, no one actually came and explained it to them. Why do you need an OT? Why do you need a physio, for an example? People's perspective about physio is like, oh, if I have a fall, then I'm going to go to a physio. So it's more reactive as opposed to being proactive.
And you know, most people go see a physio following an incident or they develop pain. What we would love to do is people start thinking about their bodies and getting some proactive assessments and understanding their strengths and weaknesses so that they delay or prevent a fall or an exacerbation of their knee arthritis or their back pain.
Perfectly leads to the next topic, which is I know that it's one of the key things that's going on at the moment, and I know that you're a big advocate about it, is falls prevention. And even in a home care setting, in a residential aged care setting, we have enough support that there are people around if something happens. They have those measures. But in a home setting where actually individuals are living by themselves, now let's talk about that falls prevention bit.
So 1 in 3 people aged over 65 have a fall each year. Every day, 400 people go to hospital for following a fall. That's 400 people each every day, and 6,000 people die each year following a fall. It's actually one of the it's the leading reason for admission to hospital is a fall, and yet the community are unaware of it. If you ask anybody, do you know anyone in your family or friends who may be a bit older that's had a fall? Most people say, yeah, I do. But people don't understand that these falls can be avoided. We can prevent about half of falls in nursing homes. We could probably prevent 30 to 40% of falls in the community, but it requires people understanding what are the risk factors of a fall And strength and balance is one of the ones that is number one that needs a focus. If you look at any sort of fall prevention program, one of the most common elements is that they've had a strength and balance program designed for them by an exercise professional such as a physiotherapist. But we just don't have this, I think we need to have a national fall prevention community awareness program, and I'm speaking on behalf of myself, but I know many academics and clinicians think this as well. We need to raise the awareness that falls are not inevitable. They can be reduced, but we need to be proactive about it. It's just like skin cancer. We know that if we slip, slop, slap, that amazing campaign that started in the 80s, that has reduced the incidence of skin cancer in Australia. It's still there. It's still a problem. But if we had another campaign around, I've got to get the right words, and we need to get a marketing expert onto this, but we'd love the government to fund it and do a national program around how we can reduce our falls risk, because it's costing $5 billion a year in health service utilisation, and that's expected to double in the next 5 years. We're all under a cost of living crisis.
Okay. And obviously, like due to migration, we know for a fact that the aging Australia will obviously, the number will increase exponentially. It'll be an exponential increase. Like my generation, my age group, in the next 20 years, we're going to get to the 65. Your age group will get there in the next 15 years, let's say.
Yes.
So obviously the number is going to keep increasing. It's just going to increase. It is inevitable that it's going to happen. So that awareness part, and I can attest to that right now what we see that in the community, when we onboard any clients, that's one of the key things that people just weren't aware. Most people just are not aware about any of this.
But it's also preparing your home to be an older person. People love their own home. They've got many memories attached to it, but there are a lot of risks in a house: stairs, rugs, shower hobs to step over, doorways that are too small. And people need to start looking at their house and going, what can I do to make my home safer? And that's where an occupational therapist is going to be invaluable, because they can give them simple modifications or major modifications, which is going to be a part of the new supported home program. And that's going to reduce their risk of falls by about a third. And then strength and balance. But then we've also got to start thinking about diet. How do we maintain strong bones? Are we eating enough protein? Are we consuming enough calcium in our diet? Or are we starting to make some cost-saving things? I often see a lot of older people their diet becomes narrow because they lose their energy or desire to cook protein-rich meals, and they start having a lot of sandwiches and jam and Vegemite because it's easy and quick.
I know for a fact there's a lot of our clients are on protein supplements at the moment,
yes.
because they're not cooking those.
Yes.
Obviously, cost of living is one of those things. It depends. Well, I can't.
But snacks, starting to think about having cheese as a snack and yogurt as a snack. But we've spent a lot of time educating people about cardiovascular health, reducing fat in your diet. But as a consequence, we've actually had a lot of people who are having protein and calcium deficits in their diet because they're trying to look after their heart. Yeah. So it's a balance. It's balance.
It's a whole a holistic approach. You have to just take a holistic approach to it.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things that I've noticed that, like I was saying, that I was in the New South Wales Seniors Expo, and majority of the individuals that we have spoken to, the older Australians, they weren't looking for home care or any of the care. They were just hopping around to see what's going to happen when they turn 90 years old. Now, a lot of the times we look for care when it is too late, just like physiotherapy. You have a pain, you go to a physio.
Yep.
I'm trying to create an awareness, and that's where the Age Care podcast comes alive. How do you, what's your message being the president of APA?
I think what's really hard is we talk about this concept, functional decline. So as we get older, our body's natural ability to deal with the challenges of life decreases because our emotional resilience, our mental resilience, our physical resilience starts to decline as we get older. But for many people, it's slow. So they don't actually, it's hard for them to notice that they're starting to do less. And there'll become a point when they they become disabled. So what we want to see people is if they start to notice, gosh, I used to walk, 40 minutes in the morning and I haven't been for a walk for weeks. So what's happened there? Why have I stopped walking? Is it a health problem that I need to go to the doctor and have a chat to them about something that might have changed? Is it just I've started to get a bit tired? So that slow functional decline. So what we need to teach people is to actually be objective about their life and what they're doing, and almost keep a diary so they can sort of track their food. I always say to people that, once a year they should do a food diary for a couple of weeks and just see, are they having a balanced, enriched, protein-rich diet? They should keep an exercise diary, and not all the time because that can become burdensome, and see how much exercise they're doing. But we all know now that Fitbits and Garmins and Apple Watches and our phones measure our steps, and it's really, everyone's got that app on their phone now. So I say to everybody, measure your steps and seeing, am I doing 6,000 steps on average a day? But in a year's time, I've noticed I'm doing 2. So we've got to teach people to be their own coaches, life coaches around food, exercise, and socialization as well. That's another one, because we all know how important it is to stay connected to people and family and friends. And when they start to see a change, work out why. Is it a change in health? Is it their arthritis is starting to play up a little bit, and so pain's getting in the way? I often find pain is a barrier. So, I just want people to be a coach, their own coach, but they've got to be objective about what they're doing and how they're doing it. And if they don't know why, that's when they need to see a professional. And that's why a home care package is not something that people should be ashamed of. It should be seen as an opportunity to get the right support that they need to lead stronger, more independent lives. Or longer.
Yeah.
And I've seen people move into nursing homes who have had a boost in their energy because they're in an environment that's right for them, and the energy that they've got, they're doing the things that they love to do, or they've got time to do their exercise because they're not having to worry about things. So I'm the same as you. If you're feeling like you need support, go get it.
Yeah.
And don't delay like a lot of people do because they don't want to be a burden, or they find that maybe they can't afford it. There's a lot of issues that people need to understand. And, the concept of having an aged care package is complex because of the way we've set it up in Australia. They haven't made it easy to understand the finances, but there's opportunities to enrich your life through joining us.
Now, and the last question is about, how are you guys planning to do awareness from the APA side?
Look, as I'm now the National President of the Australian Physiotherapy Association, we've got an election. We've got 3 campaigns. One of them is about falls prevention. So we want the government to fund some community programs. We've asked them for a long time for restorative care packages, so we have to commend the government for doing that. The current Labor government has brought that in. So we think that's a real great positive, but we're still asking for fall prevention exercise in residential aged care. We don't have that. So, we've got to start looking at older people who are living at home independently. They still need exercise. When they move into a supported home program, they've got restorative packages now. Excellent. But we've also got to support them in the residential aged care environment. So I'm doing radio interviews at the moment. I've been in Perth, I've been up in Queensland, I've been in Victoria. Tomorrow I'm going to be in Tasmania, all on radio, talking about this issue. And we're also asking all the physiotherapists out there to go talk to their local member about 3 key issues. One is about having funded musculoskeletal care, pain care and Medicare. One's about women having babies with pre and postpartum care, how important physio is for that. And the other one is falls. Keeping people on their feet and having great quality of lives and at home.
It's basically a very balanced approach.
Look, you've got to approach it from everywhere, and podcasts like this are super important, and businesses like yourselves who really support people's independence and quality of life. We're all on the same page, and if we can all work together with our patients, our customers, our clients, our family members, we'll all have a better society.
Correct. So it's all about coming together as one community, and that's one of the approaches that we're taking, educating the community around us. That's it's a positive vibration. The wave will just keep getting larger and larger, and then more and more people can actually learn about these things. And I know this. I only came to these things because my dad is now aging, and through me educating him and his mates, I'm doing that within my family unit. If everybody can do it, we can actually help a larger community.
Yeah.
And thank you so much, Rik, for coming in today. I really appreciate your time, and we'll probably do this podcast again. I know your time for today, so let's catch up sometime soon, and we can keep talking about how else and what else we can do, educate the community and increase their awareness level.
Next time I'll talk more specifically about what type of exercise, so we can give some really practical advice.
Yeah, sounds like a plan.
All right, thanks, Archie. All the best. See ya.
Thanks, Rik. Thank you. Take care.